Hi, my name is Alina Ștefănescu, and I'm so grateful to be sharing some poems with you today. I'd like to begin by invoking a poet who influences my poetry, a young Romanian poet named Constantin Virgil Bănescu, who would write the most incredible poems on napkins in Bucharest, who couldn't not write, who didn't know how to not be a poet, and who left this world too young. So this is for Obița. And I'm going to begin with a poem, La Château de ma mère, which is a place that reminds me of my mother, who died suddenly and whose death is still a part of my life. La Château de ma mère. The eye is a revisioning instrument. I lay over Mama's house, her busy blueberry shrubs partying with fuchsia azaleas. When influenza struck in 5th grade, she wrapped us in wool quilts, drowned us in chai de mușețel, stitched us into Marcel Pagnol films. We read subtitles and spoke skimpy French. First, we were my father's glory. Then we were my mother's castle. There was little to do but eat fevered boogers, estranged by the flavor of our own sickness. Sometimes I peel the eye, crawling inside those culcuși she contrived in the Romanian Republic of Alabama, tucked within Tuscaloosa, guarded by a huge magnolia and a wall of diphthongs, a little chuliandra, and superstitions that college football couldn't touch. The castle walls rumbled an afternoon's magic as Mama worked from the study, where I still can't number the books or explain why she never checked our temperature with a tool softer than lips pressed against foreheads. I forget the silence of dropped calls, the lies binding Romanian tongues when the dictator's name enters. I forget the scent of her laughter when waxing legs on the porch for the benefit of local Baptists. I forget the worst part of my Mama's castle in the movie, in the Republic, in the spinning reel of her sudden shidaka, shidaka, shidaka-tak. The American dream is very big for a lot of Romanians. For some it's escape, for some it's starting again. Often it includes divorce. And I think divorce is extremely challenging for children who grew up with no extended family in the States, whose family is all back in Romania. And you have 4 people. And when that divorce happens, you sort of lose the Romanian Republic of Alabama, especially if they remarry people who don't speak Romanian. This next poem speaks to that space, and it was inspired by a poem by Matthew Zapruder, particularly a blackbird in a poem by Matthew Zapruder. And so the blackbird is sort of a symbolic instrument that exists here. In Poem for the Blackbird. Today, I wept as we drove back roads, grass greener than ever. I felt it, closed. Something nameless held itself back from the eye's hunger. Usual cows dozed the meadows, looking alone, the sky shut, cloudless. I needed the omnivorous metaphor, its golden omen. I needed to touch its so extreme beak with my mind, to know it would dine with my mom on the dock that day she went to Walmart. She never went to Walmart. She came out with a bag she called wine. She drove to the house my dad won by divorcing. I don't remember how night arrived, whether feathered or furred. No poem bird could hold it. I went outside and lied to love, lied to its face in absolute earnest. I felt it closed. Through the window, I watched Mom open the plastic, set a chair near the socket, blaze the pine panel walls with a small torch. It wound round and grew rounder, the part I didn't see coming. Her words, "You will never forget me, Doru. No one else left their country for you." Her hands shook as she burned words into the flesh of our home. She was leaving. Her notes necklaced the living room. The bird was not black. It was the color of fire, absent smoke. And it spoke. The next poem is called Reading Ovid as a Bruise, and it comes from, with the epigraph, Ovid's epigraph from Metamorphosis, "You will be separated from yourself and yet be alive." To lose a country is to let go of the known for a dread zone on a map. The alien sculpts new verbs in navigation. She coins nouns to accommodate dislocation. In the AP history classroom, you may caption the fable she owes this country. The belt shaped like a smile covering her mouth. A statue collaborates in her silence. A rock can't risk rooting the self in longing for a place of origin. The word for missing becomes a bruise, the hidden bloom in a stone's mouth. Ancient Greeks believed exiles were liars, lacking loyalty, traitors to the language that made them. Ovid's statue gazes away from Constanza, the port of his banishment. I see him staring over the ocean, seeking a legible self, a salve for his divided body, like a bridge between the eyes of two harrowed lovers, holding intimate the abortion between them. A flesh so dangerous, they had to kill what they'd imagined to survive. And I think I have one more. This is actually one that was published. It's in Verga, and it is about my mom, about the motherland, I guess, and losing the mother tongue. And it comes from a line by American poet Donald Hall. The line is, "Lust is grief that has turned over in bed to look the other way." And I think that's so beautiful and so complicated, like love and like grief. Lust is grief. I could kneel in the hem of his hands, dicing onions for chorba. His version of my mother's soup, softer than her full-bodied original. Like Romanian, spoken in a tunnel, its diacritics muffled, strained into diminutives. Something emerges, diminished. The accent on the end of a word like da, the rising pressure of affirmation, the promise to be pleased when I am starved for a feast only the dead can make. Only the absent can feed me. And no desire will match this new knowledge of danger, the unsettled, raw, all of it, which is not like a thimble set against pricking, but closer to the taste of a copper penny given to a beggar, not in passing politeness, but in the urgence of one tongue touching the border of another, leaving only money in his mouth. Thank you so much for letting me read. And it's a gift.
Socially distanced June. Rain in the garden. paradise. I have placed enough chairs in the love garden so welcome spirits can linger and lounge, relax and listen. Maybe try the sweet peas. Think of someone you should have slept with when you were young, but you didn't. Rain is like that. Keep the phone away in another room. Sadness seeps in through the charger. If you tiptoe around the house and unplug every device, rain will wash away the malaise. Rain is like eating eclairs without the eclairs, like news without the farce. Rain is like having enough food in the house on a Saturday afternoon, socially distanced from the rest of the world, none of us zonked in front of Netflix. Tablets abandoned. Yesterday, instead of mulch, I laid down last week's newspapers around the tomatoes. As I covered the front page with old maple leaves, I spotted another story about a 16-year-old murdered downtown. Body cameras off. Prayer for an apricot tree. The apricot tree deliberates whether to come back to life or not. A dormant tree shipped across the country in June. In Romanian, apricots are feminine, grapes masculine, and apples neuter. Gender is a matter of language. Every morning when I water the apricot tree, I check to see if a green leaf has broken. Abiding respect for trees that return. Even the roots were trimmed down, bare. The chance journey of trees that travel from a nursery across the country. Does the tree learn the name of the person who planted it? Recognize my voice? The warning of things that burn. The floorboards in the living room. My chair, the windowsill. Are they still alive? Do they still remember? The triumph of an apricot tree that takes. I ordered it online and it has a 1-year warranty, but I would have to ship it back if it dies, and I don't see myself going to the post office with a packed, dead stick. Shipping back a dead tree. It's not dead, and I'm not sending it back. I remember all the trees my father planted. He picked apricots, laid them out on the table in the good room, and saved them for us when we went home. The longest it's been since I didn't go home is 3 years. Last year, my daughter didn't want to go home to Romania. This year is COVID, and the whole world is learning to pray. In 2 months, since we moved to our new house, we have planted 11 fruit trees, including 2 figs. Slowly, our garden is coming alive. Slowly, I learn to open the gifts passed down to me. Slowly, I learn to share the fruit. Infinite verbs. Except verbs, everything else is slip of vowels, fretting of chimes. Doubt sifts the sky like snow, brings in silence of Gregorian songs, syntax of prayer we can't translate. We wonder if this is what we want. Postponed fear, elusive bread. We latch the door, try to keep out cursing words, and patch the gaps with adjectives and cups of tea. The only thing we have is verbs. Everything else is squandered summer, running through our fingers as we brace ourselves for the sundry sounds of cold, emptiness crackling in the gaping stove. And the last poem I'm going to read is Tango on the Boulevards in the City. I dance with your laughter. The city opens its arms, lights on, bookstores galore, chocolate voluptuous, boulevards tempting, galleries lush with secrets. Everything you have touched has blossomed. Everything you have wished for has arrived. Everything purple and blue has tuliped. Stilettos and turquoise, fishnet stockings and watercolors, stealthiness and persistence. The sound of your steps on the marble of the plaza. Osmosis, single-mindedness, willfulness. Obstinacy dredges up insomnia and doubt. Everything you have painted has brought about a tango of innuendo. You have hypnotized the moon. You have cheated on me with me.